Hello and welcome to another episode of the Spaghetti Western Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Betts, and we've got a full show for you today. We're going to talk about history of the Spaghetti Western. We're going to talk about British Westerns, concentrate on the Sheriff of Fractured Jaw, whatever became of Pilly and Millie. Then we'll talk about who are those guys. Today's featured actor is Ralph Baldassarre or Ralph Baldassarre. Film of the week is Dakota Joe. And then the CD of the week is a threesome, but we're going to concentrate on Arizona Returns. Got an autograph of the week, book of the week, and we'll finish with the weekly news. We got quite a bit of weekly news this time. So let's get into it. We'll talk about the history of the Spaghetti Western. Concentrate, excuse me, on British Westerns this time. We've talked about Italian early productions, French early productions. So now we'll talk about some of the early British productions. The first British films to reflect this interest were a music hall sketch sharing the legendary Dan Leno, no relation to Jay, and Herbert Campbell, no relation to Bruce, as Indian braves in the burlesque attack on a settler's camp, which came out in 1900. And it's a grotesque short comedy. The Indian Chief and the Settler's Powder was released in 1901, in which the chief, sporting a peculiar headdress, enters a store, swallows the contents of a bottle of powder, and inflates and explodes. A copy of this latter oddity survives, unlike the great majority of the 43 or so westerns made in Britain between 1900 and 1924, all of them one or two reelers, are lost. For instance, the next film on a roughly Western theme to be made was Joe Rosenthal's Hiawatha in 1903, made during a visit to Canada and enacted by members of the Ojibwe people. Rosenthal also made Indians gambling for furs in War or Peace at the same time. A particular oddity must have been the Natural Color Kinematograph Company's Fate, released in 1911. It was filmed in Kinemacolor, and hence the world's first Western in color. Also lost are several comedies made in which a comic figure, usually besotted with cowboy films, tries to become one in real life with chaotic results, made more absurd by the British setting. For instance, Pimple, who's actually Fred Evans, Britain's most popular native film comic, made two such parodies, Bronco Pimple in 1913, spoofing the schoolboy's favorite Bronco Billy, and The Indian Massacre, also 1913, which poked film fun at such serious endeavors as D.W. Griffith's The Massacre and the Battle of Elderbrush Gulch. I'll post a list of all of these British Westerns when we post the Facebook link to this episode. Right now we'll concentrate on the first main full feature British Western, which was actually a British USA co-production, The Sheriff of Fractured Jaw. It was directed by Raoul Walsh, with screenplay by Arthur Dales, whose real name was Howard Dimsdale. Cinematography was by Otto Heller. It was in deluxe color and CinemaScope. Music was by Robert Farnon, and it featured the song The Valley of Love, sung by Connie Francis. Also, it starred Kenneth Moore as Jonathan Tibbs, Jane Mansfield as Kate, Henry Hall as Mayor Masters, William Campbell as Keno, and a couple of other names you might recognize. Bruce Cabot played Jack. Robert Morley was Uncle Lucius. Ronald Squire played Toynbee. Sid James was the drunk. And Al Mullock played a cowboy in this one, has a short cameo appearance. The main story goes as such. Jonathan Tibbs, played by Kenneth More, the son of a family of English gunsmiths, has no interest in the business and prefers inventing gadgets, in particular a steam-powered horseless carriage. Threatened with disinheritance if he does not report for work, he discovers that the company is not doing very well and concludes that someone must expand their sales. He reads in the newspaper about the wide use of guns in the American West of the 1880s and decides to go there himself to sell firearms to the locals. He ends up at the small, lawless town of Fractured Jaw and inadvertently acquires a reputation for quickness on the draw due to his wrist-mounted derringer. He is innocently drawn into a range war between the Box T and the Lazy S cattle outfits, both of whom claim sole water rights, and when he proves able to stand up to their hired gunmen, he's appointed the sheriff. He endeavors to clean up the town using what skills he has and by diplomacy. He attracts the support of Miss Kate, played by Jane Mansfield, a blonde bombshell hotel owner, who helps him to fight off the hired guns of both cattle ranches, who all want him dead. Earning the respect of the local Indian tribe, he becomes a blood brother of theirs under the name of Fleet Ironhat. When he and Kate are besieged by gunmen of both outfits, they come to the rescue and help to arrest the men. The two ranch owners eventually offer a deal to maintain the peace and share their water rights. With relatively peace restored, Jonathan decides to remain in Fractured Jaw, becomes an American citizen, and marries Kate. The story is of a man out of his element saved by a woman, which be used again in Paleface and the Son of Paleface with Bob Hope and Jane Russell. This was the first American Western filmed in Spain, and it was filmed in northern Spain. Al Mullock appears momentarily in a saloon scene, and Manfield's singing voice is dubbed by Connie Francis. Filming locations include Pinewood Studios in England for interiors, and the prologue was filmed at Heatherton Hall. The outdoor scenes were filmed in northern Spain. The town of Fractured Jaw was built in Colmenar Viejo, which was originally called Aberdeen City. This was seen in many spaghetti westerns, such as The Cannon Damaged Town and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, where Tuco and Blondie have their showdown against Angel Eye's henchmen. If you view this film or have remember it, watch for these errors. The Indians use modern-day fiberglass bows. Jane's gun is held at multiple levels when she teaches Jonathan how to shoot, and the gunshots and her targets don't line up. During Tibbs' card game with the mayor, the number of coins on the poker table changed several times. It's a combination comedy film and musical, and if you haven't seen it, it is worth a view. Now we'll talk about some of the actors involved in the film. First of all, we'll talk about Kenneth More, who played Jonathan Tibbs. Kenneth Gilbert More was born in Gerrards Cross, Buckinghamshire, England, on September 20th, 1914. Before Peter Sellers, there was Kenneth More, an English film and stage actor whose career spanned 4 decades. He initially achieved film in the comedy Genevieve, 1953, and he went on to appear in roles as a carefree, happy-go-lucky gent. Films from this period include Doctor in the House, Raising a Riot, The Admirable Crichton, Next to No Time, and of course this one, The Sheriff of Fractured Jaw. Moore was awarded a CBE, which is the Commander of the British Empire, in 1970. He died on July 12, 1982 in Fulham, London, England at the age of 67. Co-starring in The Sheriff of Fractured Jaw as Kate was Jane Mansfield. Born Vera Jane Palmer, she was born in Brere Mawr, Pennsylvania on April 19, 1933. She was an American actress, singer, nightclub entertainer, and Playboy playmate. A sex film of the 1950s and early 1960s, While under contract at 20th Century Fox, Mansfield was known for her well-publicized personal life and publicity stunts. She was married to muscle man, actor, and spaghetti western star Mickey Hargitay, and she was the mother of 5, including actress Mariska Hargitay. Jane was killed in a gruesome car accident on June 29, 1967, in New Orleans, Louisiana. She was only 34. Third co-star in the film was Henry Hall as Mayor Masters. Henry Watterson Hall was born in Louisville, Kentucky on October 3, 1890. He was an American character actor, perhaps best known for playing the lead in Universal Pictures' Werewolf of London in 1935. For most of his career, he was a lead actor on stage and a character actor on screen. Most Western fans will remember him as Major Rufus Cobb, the newspaper editor and defender of Jesse James, played by Tyrone Power in The Return of Jesse James, released in 1940. Hall died on March 8, 1977 in Cornwall, England. He was 86 years of age. Last but not least was William Campbell, who played Keno. William Campbell was born in Newark, New Jersey on October 30th, 1923. He was an American actor who appeared in supporting roles in major film productions such as The High and the Mighty, Love Me Tender, and Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte. He also starred in several low-budget B-movies and horror films. During the 1960s, he seemed to pop up on every TV Western series. Campbell died in Woodland Hills, California on April 28, 2011. He was 87. Okay, for our next feature, Whatever Became Of, we'll talk about Pilly and Millie. Pilar and Aurora Bayona Saria, more commonly known as Pilly and Millie, were a comic acting duo who were born in Zaragoza, Aragon, Spain, on February 10, 1947. They rose to fame in the early 1960s, becoming one of the biggest stars of the child prodigy movie genre that enjoyed a boom at the time. Their movies were musical comedies based on the formula of mistaken identities. The twins became popular teenage actresses after starring in the film Como dos Gotas de Agua in 1963 and appeared in other successful films during the decade, both in Spain and Mexico. Despite singing and dancing in their films, the only music of theirs that was commercially released was an EP containing 4 songs from their 1968 movie Vestidas Albortadas, which was only released in Mexico. Their only spaghetti western was with Sean Flynn in the 1966 film Dos Pistolas Gemelas, also known as Two Guns for Two Twins, A Woman for Ringo, and Vengeance Ranch. The twins were very popular in Spain, Mexico, and in Italy, but their career was short, lasting only from 1963 to 1970. When the success formula ceased to work, the duo dissolved. Millie retired at the age of 22 after getting married, but Pilly continued a television career in Spain and Mexico. She also played in theater and appeared in a number of small roles in the cinema. Her last role was in 2011's Living and Dead, where she plays a senora. Today, the sisters own and operate a boutique called Pilly and Millie Clothes in Corunna, Spain. Now we'll switch to our feature, Who Are Those Guys? Today we'll talk about one of the most popular and recognizable faces in the spaghetti western, Raph Baldassarre, or might be pronounced Baldassarre. He was born Raphael Baldassarre in Gordignano, Lecce, Apulia, Italy, on January 17, 1932. He started his career in the late 1950s, being cast in many peplum and adventure films such as The Pirate of the Half Moon in 1957, The Pirate of the Black Hawk in 1958, The Giants of Thessaly in 1960, Slave of Rome, Hercules and the Captive Women, and Hercules in the Haunted World in 1961. He alternated between the stereotypical roles of the young villain and the loyal friend of the hero. Following the fad of the time where European actors were given American-sounding stage names, in the second half of the 1960s, he was credited as Ralph Baldwin, or Ralph Baldwin, W-Y-N or W-I-N, different spellings, in several spaghetti westerns. He was in all of the Tony Anthony westerns, and during this time he also worked as a voice actor. Baldassarre was active until the mid-80s, usually cast in supporting roles. His last film appearance was in 1985's The Adventures of Hercules, starring Lou Ferrigno. After retiring, he returned to his hometown where he was a much beloved figure and was very friendly with the locals. His family basically owned the town, according to Tony Anthony. One brother or cousin was mayor, another one was the chief of police. He was responsible for several Italian movies being made in the area, which gave residents jobs and stimulated the local economy. Of his 90 films, 43 were westerns. Raff died in Rome on January 17, 1995, at the age of 63. Mistakenly, he's also often credited as Juan de Dios, the crazy bell ringer in Fistful of Dollars, but that's incorrect. Juan was played by Antonio Moreno. Some of Raff's biggest films that he was in were The Relentless Four in '65, where he plays Moss, and he's credited as Ralph Baldwin. He was also in Navajo Joe in '66 as Tim, Stranger in Town in '66 as Corgo, Stranger Returns in '67 as Chrysler. He pops up in The Great Silence in '68 as Sanchez or Bobo Schultz. The Mercenary in '68, Matko, where he has a memorable role where Franco Nero strikes a match across his laughing teeth before he lights his cigar. He's also in The Man Who Cried for Revenge in 1970 as Jack. Dig Your Grave, Friend, Sabata's Coming. In '71, he plays the lead as Sabata. He's in Get Mean in 1975 as Diego. And in Sartana Kills Them All in 1971 as Fred Burton. Okay, now we turn to the film of the week. Film of the week, also known as A Man in a Cult. Title is Un Homo y un Homo Cult. Spanish title is Un Hombre un Cult. As I said, the English titles are Dakota Joe and A Man in a Cult. This is a '67 Italian-Spanish co-production produced by PEA in Rome and Tullio Demicelli PC in Madrid. It was produced by Tullio Demicelli, directed by Tullio Demicelli. Screenplay was by Demicelli and also Nino Stresa, whose real name is Sigfrido Tamba. Cinematography was by Ober Troiani and Emilio Forrescott, and was in Technicolor and Technoscope. Music is by Oliver Angel Pina and Coriolano Gori. The main roles were Robert Hundar, who plays Gringo or Dallas or Dakota Joe. Fernando Sancho plays Pedro. Mirko Ellis plays Don Carlos de Lar. Gloria Milan plays Beatriz de Lar. Paco Moran plays Diego de Lar or Garcia. Jacinto Martin plays Grecian. Marta Reeves plays Carmencita. Jose Antonio Mayans plays Ignacio. Luis Gaspar plays Matthew. And a couple of other recognizable names are Vittorio de Severo plays Inez Maid. And Ralph Baldassarre plays Pedro. Hernando Hernandez plays one of Pedro's henchmen. Jose Canalejas and Jose Luis Luch plays henchman of Don Carlos. Giovanni Petty is Sam. Jesus Guzman and Agustin Bescos plays stagecoach passengers. Emilio Espinoza is a patient in a hospital, and Vincenzo de Paulo plays a saloon patron. The story goes, after badly penetrating the lair of the gang of Pedro, played by Fernando Sancho, where he punishes two bandits who have stolen his horse, the gunslinger Dakota Joe, played by Robert Hundar, shows up at Don Carlos, played by Mirko Ellis, is a wealthy landowner for whom he has been hired to kill Dr. Garcia Gomez, played by Felix de Foss. Before executing the crime, Joe finds out that Don Carlos terrorizes the region and that Dr. Garcia is a supporter of the revolution headed by Emilio Zapata. Meanwhile, Gracian, played by Jacinto Martin, the brother of Don Carlos, will benefit from the assassination to the detriment of Pablo and Carmencita, Jacinto Martin and Marta Reeves, a young peon couple that Dakota Joe has met and made friends with. Given the situation, Dakota Joe takes the side of the rebels and kills Gracian, but is captured by the henchmen of Don Carlos. Freed with the help of former bandit Pedro, the rich landowner puts up a huge reward for Dakota. But Pedro, attracted by the money, runs away with it, and Joe retrieves the money, only to deliver it with his revolutionary fans. This is an early Robert Hundar starring film, and Pedro Sancho bounces back and forth between good guy and bad guy. Basically, he's greedy and he's in it for the money. But it's very decent. Hundar at that time was considered the king of the spaghetti westerns. And it's very watchable, enjoyable. There's plenty of action. Moves along well, and the soundtrack is well done also. So it's recommended if you haven't seen it. If you have, catch it again. As far as the leading actors are concerned, we've already talked about Robert Hundar, who plays Dakota Joe. Jay and I did a complete episode on him, number 20. Fernando Sancho plays Pedro. We also did a complete episode on him, number 9. Don Carlos de la Mar is played by Mirko Ellis. Mirko was born Mirko Korsinski in Locarno, Italy on September 4, 1923, to a family of Lithuanian origin. Ellis moved after his studies to Rome, where he made his film debut in 1946. In a critically acclaimed role in Aldo Vergano's neorealist drama, The Sun Still Rises. 1 year later, he debuted on stage in the theatrical company of Maria Mulatto. He later alternated important roles and character roles in the genre films and television productions. Ellis was married to fellow actress Esther Maring, with whom he lived in Algarve, Sardinia. On 11th of September 2014, Ellis fell down from the balcony of his fourth floor apartment and died. Police, however, believe his death was a suicide. He had turned 91 1 week before. Next, we're going to talk about Gloria Milan, who played Beatrice Delar. She was born Maria Fee in Cagliari, Sardinia on October 11, 1940. She debuted in films in 1959 under her real name, but changed it shortly later to Gloria Milan, following a fashion of the time for American-sounding stage names. In 1960, she was very active in light comedies and peplum films, and often maintaining main roles. Then did some spaghetti westerns, but dissatisfied with the career, she chose to retire from show business in the late 1960s. The last main actor is Paco Moran, who played Garcia or Diego Delar. Francisco Moran Ruiz was born in Almodovar del Rio, Spain on November 9, 1930. At the age of 17, he entered the Conservatory of Music Declamation of Cordoba, where he studied dramatic art. He became a radio announcer and then a TV actor. His main interest was in the theater, where he's best remembered. Even so, he appeared in over 80 films and TV programs. Paco died in Barcelona, Spain on July 23rd, 2012, at the age of 81. Okay, our next feature is Book of the Week. Let me get this out of here, excuse me. Book of the Week is Sergio Leone, Backstage of a Genius. It's done by Dancel Jarac and Dino Jarac. It's in Italian and English, with one page being English and the other page being Italian. It's self-published by Dino, and Daniel. Came out in 2018, has 100 pages, and it's basically photographs, both for publication and behind-the-scenes publicity pictures, and it's highly recommended. You can find it at Amazon in Italy. I don't have the cost of it. Next, we'll talk about Autograph of the Week. And my autograph of the week is Sergio Leone. It's matted, but I just have his autograph pasted on the bottom. I haven't got the moolah that Jay has. He hasn't given me a raise since the show started, so you'll have to put up with this. And then we'll turn to CD of the week. Okay, CD of the week. Get the glare off of here. There we go. Is Western Film Music of Bruno Nicolai, Volume 3. Little of Bruno Nicolai's was published while he was alive. I don't know if he would not release the rights to LPs and CDs, but it wasn't until he passed away that his daughter got involved with Gemelli Records, and a bunch of his music flooded the scene. By that time, it was mostly CDs, so that's what we had to buy if we wanted to expand our Bruno Nicolai collection or listen to any of his music. This is Volume 3, which has 3 scores on it. Arizona si scattano il fece fiori tutti, which is actually Arizona Returns. Also has I corvi di scaveranno la fossa, which is And the Crows Will Dig Your Grave. And Uomo visto mezzo ammazzato parola di Spirito Santo, which is His Name Was Holy Ghost. The first Arizona film was directed by Sergio Martino, starred Anthony Stephan and Aldo Sambrell, and it's known as, again, Arizona Returns. And The Crows Will Dig Your Grave was directed by Juan Bosch, stars Craig Hill and Fernando Sancho. The third film, His Name Was Holy Ghost, of course, stars the great Johnny Garco. Co-stars Pilar Velasquez. This is on the Semel label, comes out of Spain. It's number 3998010. Was released in 2007 and mainly has tracks from the Arizona release. It only has 3 tracks from And the Crows Will Dig Your Grave and 2 tracks from His Name Was Holy Ghost, for a total of 31 tracks. Total time is 49 minutes and 26 seconds. It contains an 8-page booklet, and its value is anywhere from $6 to $27, depending on condition. I found it on Amazon as a used copy for $12. And that concludes the CD of the week, and we'll wrap up with the weekly news, which we've got quite a bit. Okay, first off, we have some great news. Enzo Castellari has begun shooting a new Western in Spain. The yet unreleased title has long been in the making with several different titles and storylines. We know it stars Fred Williamson because he told us that when we interviewed him a few weeks ago. Other than that, we don't know. It'll probably be scheduled for release in 2023. And this morning, Mike Malloy messaged me on Facebook that he has word that it's going to be a TV series, not a feature film. So in the past year or two, we've also seen a Django, a Fistful of Dollars titles being released as TV films or TV series. So we don't know if they just used Sergio's title and they'll actually base it on that film, or if they'll base it on the characters that were still living, Harmonica, Cheyenne, and Jill, or what it's going to be about. We'll have to keep you posted as things develop. Also this week was released a new book called The Last Sons of Ringo, 15 Final Spaghetti Western Heroes Plus 2, 1971 to 1977, by author Fred Baldassarre. It's from Blackstone Press. It's in English with 198 pages. And this completes Fred's trilogy of books on the spaghetti westerns. It's filmed and it stars. It was released on April 13th, 2022, and you can pick up a copy on Amazon for under 10 bucks. So it's highly recommended. You won't find a lot of new information, but it's interesting to read about films that you think you know all about, or familiar with the titles and the actors involved. It's a quick read and it's a lot of fun. Also this week, we have a new German Blu-ray DVD release of Endelgen Bastardo, which is Dead Men Don't Count. The film is directed by Rafael Romero Marchant and starred Anthony Stephan and Mark Damon. And it's on the Explosive Media label in German and in English and Italian languages with German, English, and Italian subtitles. Has a running time of 90 minutes. On the DVD, 90 minutes on the Blu-ray, 86 minutes on the DVD. It has 2 cover versions and also has extras which include a 40-page booklet, an interview with Mark Damon, a trailer, and a photo gallery. It was released on April 14th, 2022. Also released this week as a British version of The Great Silence. It's on DVD only, and this is a re-release of the Great Silence complete package, which was released earlier this year from Italy. The film was directed by Sergio Corbucci, stars Jean-Louis Trintignant, Frank Wolf, and Klaus Kinski. This release is on the Eureka Entertainment label. It's in English with a running time of 106 minutes. Has all the extras of the UK version except the O card, the poster, and the lobby cards, and it has standard packaging. This was released on April 11th, 2022. Thirdly, we have a DVD release from Italy of Chato, or we know it as Chato's Land, directed by Michael Winner, starred Charles Bronson, Jack Palance, and James Whitmore. And it's on the A&R Productions label with 2.0 Dolby Digital language and a running time of 96 minutes. It was released on April 15th, 2022. And to wrap up, we have 2 RIPs on Boot Hill. The first one is Carolo Ruiz, not a big name actor, but you'll see why I am mentioning him. He's a Spanish actor, died in Madrid on April 6, 2022. He was only 49. He's the son of actress Terrell Pavez, the nephew of actress Emma Panella and Elisa Montez. He appeared in 30 films and TV series from 1999 to 2022, but only appeared in 1 Euro Western as a townsman in 800 Bullets in 2002. The other person who passed away this past week is Uwe Bohm. He's a German film and TV actor. He's the adopted son of director Hark Bohm, and he died suddenly and unexpectedly on April 9th, 2022. He was known as a villain in quite a few crime films. Huey was born Huey Grossman on January 24th, 1962. In 1988, he won the Bavarian Film Prize for his role as Jan and Yasmin, a German-Turkish Romeo and Juliet. Huey's lone Euro Western was as Gustav Mahler in the 2013 film Gold. And that wraps up the weekly news. Also, don't forget to check out Jay's Retro Time Machine on YouTube. And that wraps up this week's edition of the Spaghetti Westerns podcast. And until next week, adios, amigos.